So there's quite a few number of angles you could take, and I would personally recommend um, taking several angles. Um, and in no um, like order of importance, I'll just list some of them randomly here. But I would cull together some of the top science and just kind of like, you don't have to go into the science, but just share some links or some papers or an email with some PDFs or something where they can review um, the science showing how efficacious mindfulness and like especially prolonged or sustained mindfulness practice can support large organizations. Because ultimately, these types of decision makers usually want evidence that this is going to influence the organization, not just like the happiness of people who choose to do it. Because then they're going to say, well, just go to a yoga studio, just go download an app. But there is, more and more evidence and research showing the efficacy of mindfulness in organizations. So I would kind of pinpoint that. So, there's a direct relationship between mindfulness training and the bottom line, or employee retention, or uh, you know people come to work more because they're healthier or they're more inspired. Um, HR reports a decrease in X and an increase in Y. But really kind of pinpoint that type of evidence that other organizations are doing the research on. Um, I would also propose saying, look, we don't know how it's going to go. We're not saying this will work wonders, but what we can do is test and say, look, like if we roll out some sort of program, we will be testing this. We will be providing evidence to you over time to show what it's actually doing. We're going to be tracking this. So pre-program or pre-workshop or pre-meditation session, we will be asking for quantitative and qualitative info. After session 1 or 2 or 3, we're going to be asking for more info. And so we will be tracking what is happening and how we can improve, and like what is working, what isn't working. So for this type of person, that goes a long way. So to not oversell it by saying this is going to be amazing, but say, look, we have reason to believe that this will work in many areas, and we will test it along the way. And if it doesn't work, we'll scrap it. And we believe that it's worth the investment to try it. So that's another thing. Typically, with this kind of conversation, I will do my best beforehand to know what's important to this person. So in other words, what are their goals? What are their challenges? Like, what do they care about? So, and usually for this level of senior administrator, you can usually look to see what the organization's mission is, what their values are, the value statements, and kind of pull from the formal um, statements about who we are. This is why we do it. This is what we do, um, and connect mindfulness to that. Like, look, mindfulness will help, or it will support us to live out our mission, our values, our responsibilities, um, more than we have. So making a direct connection between mindfulness and the sort of explicit intentions of the organization, but then also like, okay, so I know what's important to this person. They usually talk about X. So how can I connect mindfulness to X? But both in terms of what they want and what they don't want. Like, what do they spend their time repairing? What are their, what do they not want to see? And how can mindfulness support that? But to make it very explicit. Um, and if you don't know what's important to them, and I'm just speaking to everyone in general, like if you don't know what's important to the person or the organization, then ask. And then if you need time to make the connection between mindfulness and their answer, that's fine. But make it relevant is my overarching point. So that's another thing.